Good morning, Nichelle. It's very good to see you. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Dr. Kelly Kent, and I am the first vice president of the Culver City Democratic Club. And I've been supporting with our endorsement process for SPI candidates because I served on the school board in Culver City Unified for 2 terms. So we're very pleased to have you. Nichelle Henderson running for SPI. I'll let you take a few minutes to introduce yourself. We're gonna do a process where we let you introduce yourself for 3 minutes, and then we have 4 questions that we've sent you in advance, and we will ask that you take 2 minutes to answer each of those, and then we'll give you a brief close at the end. We're recording this, and we're going to upload it to our YouTube channel and let our members view all 3 candidate interviews. We've had Richard Barrera and Josh Newman, and then we will send out an election buddy that will actually include the other candidates as well. And then our members will vote and you'll hear from us. And we look forward to seeing how that all plays out. So I'm going to go ahead and get a timer started and ask you to introduce yourself, Nichelle. And let's see if I can do it in a non-clunky way, which I've already started getting clunky about it. We had it all figured out, didn't we?
We did.
It was there, and now I can't find that timer. I'm gonna. All right, I found the timer, Nichelle, and I will go ahead and let you get started. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kelly. Good morning. My name is Nichelle Henderson. I am a career teacher and teacher educator running to be the next state superintendent of public instruction. I am running for the seat because I see firsthand how uh, chronic underfunding has negatively impacted all of our students, especially our marginalized students, our special education students, and our immigrant students. I've got 30 years boots on the ground experience in California classrooms, from being a parent volunteer to noon duty aide, a lunch duty aide, an after school coordinator. I've been a sixth grade teacher, which was my love. And in the Compton Unified School District, and for the past 13 years, I've been working as a faculty and a clinical support supervisor for new and pre-service teachers that are working towards their multiple subjects teaching credentials. So I see firsthand what's going on in our classrooms. And I unfortunately see that since the 15 years that I've been out of the classroom, that not much has changed. And we cannot expect to see improvements in education if we're not making changes in education. We've had 28 superintendents, and less than a handful have had a true background in education. And of that background, of that five, we've had probably less than half that have had a real background in K-12. And so the definition of insanity is doing the same thing multiple times, expecting a different result, meaning having someone from the legislature that runs for the seat because they're terming out of office, and this seat goes under the radar. This is a constitutional seat, and it is hugely important to the outcomes of students across our state. There are folks that don't realize that our current superintendent is terming out of office because they just don't pay attention and they don't know what the superintendent does. The superintendent oversees curriculum, instruction, finance, assessment for students across the state, and oversees the reporting of those things. And so, it's vitally important to me that we reduce class size, that we pay our teachers better, that we fully fund our schools and fully fund our schools so that we can meet the needs of all school children. And that is what I will do as superintendent, because I'm doing those things now as a trustee on the LA Community College Board. So essentially what I'm asking California voters to do is vote for me so that we can do what I'm doing as a community college trustee on a larger scale across the state.
Thank you. I'm going to stop that timer so it doesn't ding. That was beautiful in terms of the timing. Thank you so much, Nichelle. I will move to our first question, and this will be a 2-minute question. Could you please speak to the role of an elected school board versus parents and versus professional educators in determining curriculum?
Yes. So elected school board members approve curriculum. They don't create it, they approve it. they adopt it. They approve textbooks and whatever curriculum the school uses. Parents have very little say over curriculum unless they sit on a school site council, possibly PTA, where those discussions could possibly happen. But where the power of parents in the adoption of curriculum is in I guess, the backside feedback, in terms of how they see it working for their children, which is very important. For professional educators, they implement the curriculum. They're the ones that are creating the curriculum, making sure that it's it works for all students. That so you have the approval, you have the feedback, and you have the implementation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you finishing before the timer because it's kind of it feels like an Oscars moment, like it's not that
Exactly.
smooth. Thank you. The next question is, could you please speak to the ideas championed by the new New York City Schools Chancellor to move away from gifted and talented programs and lay the groundwork to move toward implementing international baccalaureate programs district-wide?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Too often we have um, advanced placement classes, we have gifted and talented programs, and there is a person or people, a very small group that determines who gets assessed, who gets the opportunity. And more often than not, students of color, Black students, Latino students, um, in any immigrant student, language is a barrier, culture, oftentimes economic and social situations play a part. Where it's someone making a determination as to whether or not a child should be selected to be assessed, or their determination of what the qualifications are. With the idea behind the International Baccalaureate is that all students have access to what could potentially be advanced placement. So we're setting the bar high for all of our students to achieve and to accomplish their academic goals, because children don't know what they don't know until they get out of high school and realize that they don't know it. And so it's our responsibility as education leaders to make sure that they get everything that they need academically to prepare them for the future. And I believe that that is the intention behind international baccalaureate programs.
Thank you. Okay, so our third question is, please tell us your thoughts on the role subsidized housing could play in boosting educator pay. Feel free to refer to any and all potential models to offset housing costs for educator workforce.
Thank you for that. In LACCD in 2022, we passed a $5 million bond called Measure LA. Voters across LA County approved this bond for us to build student housing, purchase properties to offer student housing and workforce housing. And we are now in the process of seeing that to fruition. The beautiful thing about subsidizing housing costs for our education workforce is it's not a pay increase, but it is a significant impact to their salaries. Because if you have X salary and X amount of money is going out of your check every month for a mortgage or rent, with the subsidy, that money is, at least in some portion, is covered. And so now you have that money, available for your household and basic needs. And so, and I've say quite often when we're negotiating salaries with our education workforce, that benefits and possibly housing should be a separate discussion from salary, because when you include it in the salary, it it raises their salary, but ultimately does not give them that financial benefit long term, because that money is taxed, where the subsidy wouldn't be taxed, and it's money that's going straight to their need the way that they need it to be. And it helps to boost our local economy also, because we have people that are not living minute to minute, literally not knowing how they're going to pay their rent and mortgage.
That's interesting. I really hadn't thought about the tax implications. Thank you for that. Okay, our final question. How do you ensure that a district's history and anti-hate curriculum presents global conflicts accurately, particularly when there are strong political pressures around how certain regions or narratives are taught?
Great question. So, thinking about AB 715 and the impacts of it on teaching ethnic studies, on having really critical, engaging in really critical discourse in our schools, we center rigor, if we center credibility, if we center honesty, and have folks that are teaching the curriculum that have a background, an academic or and a professional background in the study, in the field, where they know how to engage students, but prevent their own bias or allow bias from students or anyone else to come into the conversation. Then you have a robust discussion. You have a robust sharing of ideas. When we make sure that our curriculum is historically accurate, when we consult experienced people, again, people that work or research and study in that particular field, we have a better chance of having um, students walk out of a classroom or walk away from a discussion being informed versus being addressed in a political way. We want to get the politics out of the conversation and just adhere to the facts, discuss the facts, have students know the facts so that they then can have conversations that are factual and meaningful and not harmful to others.
Thank you so much. All right, Nichelle. So I think at this point you can wrap. And so it's what you want our club members to know. This is a good time for that because we don't have an audience for Q&A, but I'm sure that you know Culver City, of course, and you probably know a little bit about our club. And so if there's something you want to speak to that you think our club wants to know about you or needs to know about you, I think is 2, 3 minutes okay? What do you?
Yes, I
Okay.
can make 2 or 3 minutes work.
I'll do
So, in closing, I am the only teacher that identifies as a Democrat in this race. I'm the only candidate that has pretty much been in all levels of K-12 education outside of having been a school administrator, although I do have um, uh, authority for the authorization to be an administrator. That is very important because the superintendent is a state constitutional seat. You know, the same way we want our attorney general to be an attorney, a practicing successful attorney, and we want our insurance commissioner to know something about insurance. We need the superintendent of public instruction to not just give out a bunch of political rhetoric about what they will do when they're the superintendent. They should be talking about what they are doing as a carryover into that role. As the only classroom teacher in this race as a Democrat, I see our classrooms. I work with new teachers. I see the turnover rate, what teachers need. And in addition to a base salary that allows them to thrive and live in the communities that they teach and teach in the communities that they live. You know, it is a respect issue, but it is also an equity issue. When our teachers cannot afford to live in the areas that they teach, they have a commute. When our teachers are worried about their next emergency because their salaries don't cover all of their basic needs, they can't effectively teach our kids, and our kids can't function in overcrowded classrooms. So we have to address what we're calling a teacher shortage, but also an inability to recruit and retain teachers and administrators that really care about our kids. Unfortunately, we have people in our classrooms that are so stressed out that they cannot effectively nurture our young ones and prepare them for the future. And my goal as superintendent of public instruction is to give teachers hope and to give our students really sustainable pathways to be successful both academically and economically, because they really are our future and we cannot wait for a kindergarten student to be a 12th grader before we make sure that they have some workforce opportunities or make sure that they're able to read. And so, and moving beyond, we need to do better political rhetoric, really be intentional about what it means to do better. And I have the skill set to do that.
Thank you, Nichelle. This was a pleasure. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording right now. And